mistakes are indeed painful and costly, but they also hold the power to make you stronger. In today's episode, my guest and I delve into the invaluable lessons she gained from her first business failure. During a period of depression and frustration, she dissected the reasons behind the unsuccessful venture, gaining profound insights into partnerships and international business. Hello and welcome to Season 7 of the Womenpreneur Asia podcast. I'm your host, Krista Goon, and my mission is to unearth the stories and strategies of Asian women entrepreneurs, providing you with valuable insights into your own business journey. This episode is proudly sponsored by Redbox Studio. Our guest today hails from Casablanca, Morocco, Safaa Nasseh. She is the founder and managing director of ARKAD Plus, a company specializing in offering expert advice on launching businesses in Morocco and collaborating with Moroccan companies and enterprises. In this insightful conversation, we explore her journey from a failed business venture to her current role. Safaa's story showcases her ability to rebuild and reinvent herself, leveraging her strengths and experiences developed throughout her career. Her journey is a testament to resilience and the power of embracing one's failures. Let's get into her story today. Hi, Safaa. Welcome to Womenpreneur Asia.
Hi, Krista. Thank you very much for welcoming me in your podcast. I am from Morocco and I am located in Morocco, precisely Casablanca.
And how is Casablanca now?
So I think like most big cities, it's there is low traffic, but yeah.
Do you enjoy living in Morocco? I mean, Casablanca.
I do enjoy living in Morocco. Morocco for me is the best place to be because the weather is acceptable, it is tolerable, it is not very, very hot, it's not very, very cold. I find that the standards of living is also acceptable. Unlike in many other countries, I grew up here. I spent most of my youth in Europe and I also traveled abroad often. There are better places like Casablanca, of course. There are cities with turquoise beaches and cleaner beaches, quieter, closer to nature. There are mountain areas where you can enjoy serenity and meditate as you walk. Here in Casablanca, it is very busy, and most of the people here, they come to work, and during the holidays, they travel back to their homes.
That's good to know because I always like to start with that because a lot of times my listeners come from different parts of Asia and also beyond Asia. So it's always good to give them a place that they can say, oh, she's in a specific place in the world.
It's true that when I travel to exotic places and I say I'm from Morocco, they say, wow.
Like, yeah, I know. It sounds like really exotic. And before we get into today's topic, right, perhaps you can let us know a little bit about your business. What are you doing now and what made you start this business?
So what I am doing now, I'm helping foreign companies come to Morocco and do business in Morocco and also sell their products or services. What led me to start this business is my experience with the Indian Embassy and also the UK Embassy. I was doing exactly that, supporting exports and imports and also investments and going to ministries to lobby for businesses. We were also arranging events to promote a certain country in a specific sector. And then because I had started with the Indians first and my personal number was the one used for every event, so I was kind of known to the public. So even though I had left, people were still contacting me for certain services or asking me questions on how I can help them solve certain problems. So when you see that people naturally come to you for something, that's the thing you continue to do. So somehow I could not do anything because I was employed with the UK government. So I was tied by contract not to do anything else. Therefore, if I could give an advice, I would do it. If there was something to do, like a country representation for a company or something, I would like say, sorry, I can't do this, but perhaps in the future we can. So once I had left, and also people knowing what I do, they also encouraged me to keep doing what I do. And for me, this was a natural transition. So this is how it began, and I'm very grateful to my first clients because they encouraged me to do this and also trusted me with the projects which shed the lights on this new path I'm on.
And specifically, is it matchmaking businesses with each other? In what scope are you engaged in with a client, for instance, who comes to you?
So it is based on their queries, depending on what they want. Sometimes they want to set up in what we call the industrial zones, which is somehow the former free zones in Morocco, but because now the fiscality has changed. Sometimes they want to introduce their brands to new clients. They want to onboard new people. And sometimes they want to set up a corporate structure here in the country. So they need the paperwork, and then they want to attend events. They want to engage with the markets, sometimes as a beginning towards other countries in Africa. So, and there are also many queries such as public procurements or also market studies. They want to know what are the regulatory framework and how the markets can react to their brand and products. So these are the kind of things that come up for international developments into Morocco.
And I'm sure you enjoy doing that. Otherwise,
Oh,
you wouldn't
yes.
be in a business.
Yes, I do enjoy it.
And this is also a good way to get talking about before you started this business, before you ended up in this business. So that is actually the topic for today, right? Our angle that we wanted to focus on is to talk about how sometimes in our past we would have some things that happen to us that are perhaps not what we expect, but some things that allow us to see that maybe it did happen for a reason. So Safaa, perhaps you let us know a little bit about the first business that you started before this business.
So the first business that I started was focused on helping startups. Given that I had started in France, and back then in 2013, 2014, France was so focused on building startups because it was the future. Well, it is still the future for every country to push the youth to start their own business instead of looking for jobs. And so I was supporting with this because somehow I loved the coaching and I loved the business plans. I was so excited about these things. And as I had started with this and I was building my network, I met a person who introduced me to a highly ranked person from a government office. And so when he met me, he saw that what I was doing matched what he was also thinking of. So the deal was that I'd be the face of the company, and we start the service as a software targeted at entrepreneurs, which would be like the LinkedIn, but for companies where they can simulate all the financial reports and whether it is profitable given their tables. So it was going pretty well, slow, but it was progressing. And at the same time, because such projects do not yield income from the beginning. So at the same time, I was giving training to companies on social media, on sales, on things related to entrepreneurship and daily management. This is how I was making a living back in France. And so at the same time, since I had always wanted to come back home, and France was not a country for me, so it was good to study. I stayed there some 4 to 5 years. But then I was like, it's time to come home and continue what I was doing, because I was inspired from a client who was working from his home country and doing everything in France without ever meeting. So we were doing business without ever meeting. And I was like, if he's doing it, I can do it too. But when I came back to Morocco, things were very different. When I wanted to keep going on training as I'm working on the project, it turns out that onboarding clients was not as smooth as in France, because French people are quite simple. You come, you deliver, you are paid. In Morocco, they keep questioning you. They keep wondering whether you can deliver before they even give you that chance. They don't seem to want to pay you. So I was like, I'll continue focusing on the projects. And
this project was the training that you were giving?
No, the project, the SaaS, software as a service, was the LinkedIn platform for entrepreneurs. So I was totally focused on this. And then it is, as I was totally on it, it is when I realized that I was in a toxic partnership where the person was expecting me to do everything and not do anything else, and also was putting so much pressure. And I would learn from others that he was raising funds from competitions and he was not telling me anything about it. And at a moment, his daughter graduated and he wanted her to be the face of the company, which was not our deal in the beginning. And then he resigned from his office, and then he wanted to start doing everything himself. For example, I would pay for things, and normally the deal would be that he pays back, but it was never done. And I never claimed because I was somehow also trying to see where this was going. And when everything stopped is one day I woke up, it was a weekend, it was a Saturday, and I thought I was doing very good with trainings. Why am I doing this with him? I will go focus on trainings. And so I opened my bank accounts because I had still the French bank accounts, and I see that huge amounts withdrawn for some trip sites, travel websites. And I was in total shock. It was a Saturday. What can I do? I speak to my friend to go speak to the bank for me. So
So this was a joint bank account. Was this a joint bank account?
No, it was not.
It was your own.
It was mine alone.
Wow.
But someday in the past, I have given him my card because his card was blocked. So I had just borrowed it to him, but I never thought of changing it, which was one of the big mistakes. Nobody should know your credit card details, and if they know, better change it and have peace of mind, so that you protect your assets, as we say. So, and then he started to show his real face, like, you don't have money, you will not be able to do anything. And it's true that without money, you cannot really do anything. Although I had a Moroccan bank account, but it was not as credited as the French one, because it was not the main one. So as he started to show his real face, and then I was like, the bank never refunded anything. They were sending me threatening mail posts, and I was like, even the Moroccan police department here, they did not understand my complaints to take it so that I can send it to France. So I was every day expecting this to be solved, but it never happened. So because I was sort of inactive, and this is not myself, I was thinking on how to solve this, and I was trying to work on things with the available resources. At the same time, dealing with this toxic partnership that was becoming more and more toxic. But back then I was quite young, and I was not recognizing what toxic is until you grow up and you can have an idea of what a person who is ill-willing is like. So then I went out on a morning with my CV, and I was like, I either land a job or I land clients. Either way, I had to survive, because I was becoming not myself. I'm usually very active and solution oriented. So as I go out, I meet with the managing director of a subsidiary of a big group, and we agree on many things. And then we decided to start working. And I was hired in his company, and everything was going well. The thing is, the day I had signed the contract was the day the bank unlocked everything. So it was like if I had to start a contract somewhere and separate myself from this business that was no longer fruitful to me and was no longer fulfilling to me. Because when the environment is no longer good for you, it's better to let go. And the other thing is that when I had started this in France, I immediately went to Morocco, and the business culture is different. And I was not familiar with the business culture in Morocco, so working at a local company was an enlightenment on how to do things properly and how to deal with the Moroccans here and how to get along with them and to get things done. So it is somehow what shaped this present company, because foreign companies, they think they can come and they can continue what they were doing in their home country. And it usually doesn't work like this. So you have to adapt to the local culture. So this is somehow things I am convinced of that foreign companies should do And it's better for them to be accompanied and familiar with the local markets and local culture before investing much more on it. So
what happened to that first company, that toxic business partner that you had while you landed yourself a job in this local company?
Yes. So even the accountant that was hired to do the books for me and the tax returns, he ended up taking the money without doing anything. And it turns out that accountant was a friend of the associate. So it was like if he was doing everything to destroy me and keep everything for himself, like just to abuse my skills and enthusiasm. And at the end, remove me from the picture so he keeps doing everything himself. So the French government was sending me letters to pay for the taxes, etc., but I couldn't do anything. So they ended up just closing the company, which was my goal, to close the company. And so they did this without any problem.
Eventually, you got out of that company.
Yes, I just closed it. And then I traveled to France to make sure that they were not expecting anything from me. And I went out from it without any issues. So for me, there is nothing with me and the French tax office. So I was fine on this area. And then, but when I was working at this firm, there was an opening in the Indian embassy. I went there and I had a larger view on how business is done, how trade is done, how people come and set up their entities, how they do contracts, because somehow I had access to confidential information that I have never used or anything, but it's very enlightening. It's things you cannot learn in school. And most importantly, they were making me famous because I was the marketing executive and they were using my name and my personal number for all the events. So I was becoming very known for trade and investments, to the point where if I go to some events, people know me and I don't recognize them.
So you're becoming a celebrity without even wanting to be one.
Without even knowing it.
Yeah,
which was really good. I was told later on that people who work in embassies, they are sort of arrogant, rude. They want to keep a distance with people. But I personally was the opposite. I was very kind, very outgoing. I would have long conversations that are friendly with people. So this was a huge plus, and this is why people liked me without me knowing it. So this is how I built my network. So I'm glad I built my skills as much as my network. And this was very useful for me at the UK embassy as well, because this is how you get things done in Morocco. By being nice, trustworthy, and helpful. So, yeah.
And your reputation spreads, right?
It does. It's a small world. Yeah. Morocco is a small world. Everyone knows everyone, especially now with LinkedIn, they cannot forget you.
And they can always check you out if they want to find out more, like where do you go, what do you do?
Right, yes, they can always come and see where you are up to. So we are in a good era where people can keep in touch without necessarily talking.
But when you were going through that harrowing episode with your first business and all that, what did you feel when you were going through all those crazy times? I mean, it must have been really difficult, right?
It was indeed. It was very stressful and painful mentally, and sometimes also physically, because I would get sick without knowing why. But how I went through this is by keeping busy, even though on things that were not working. But it's good that I tried them, and I would see how things would go and how I could overcome them in the future. For example, even though I was working in these companies, I would be trying new things. I would learn things online and then try to apply it, and not necessarily to give it a continuity in the future, but to see if it would work. So this is how I spent most of my weekends and evenings, by trying entrepreneurship, by testing things. Yes, online. because before then I was more doing things in person and meeting people in person. So by trying things online, I learned that you cannot just use any database because the system will just block you from using their software entirely. Or you cannot just try to sell a product because you have to be known and inspire trust to your audience before you can sell them anything. That's it's better to be financially solid, because without money you cannot do anything. This is a fact. And even Napoleon Hill in his book Think and Get Rich.
And Get Rich.
Yes, he says that without money you cannot do anything. And so the sort of easiest way to do it is to sell services or knowledge. So, and I'm sure many people have so much knowledge that others do not know and that they take for granted. And it's somehow a good way to promote oneself and sell that knowledge. Sometimes it cannot pay off, but sometimes it can pay off. And it's good to start and try at least.
I want to get back to your point just now as you were talking about testing. You were testing many different things online. What were you testing? Example.
Testing online trainings. For example, using Udemy. So I have 2 courses there. The first one, it took me loads of months and efforts to build it. And then when I built it, I announced it to the group where I was getting inspiration and motivation. And they said, everyone told me, good, you have just achieved 20% of your efforts. Now you have 80% left for marketing.
Did that shock you?
Yes. I thought I was done, that I would, solve all my
Like it will sell itself, right? Like
then
the Udemy course would sell, right? Like by itself.
Yes, this is what I thought. But no, it wasn't like this. There was still a lot to be done. And given that there is competition everywhere on any topic, especially online, people can search and find whatever they want. So there is there was still lots of efforts to be done. And my mistake was that the course was on IT, and everything IT is limited on time because there are so many updates afterwards. And as I was updating the course and trying to promote it at the same time, at a moment I stopped and I put a date that it was last updated in 2018. But the problem is people are still enrolling. But the problem with Udemy is if you don't promote the course yourself, they take more than 90% of the income. They leave you just a small percentage, which is not encouraging. But when you understand that how Udemy works, you have to be the one promoting your course, not themselves. Because if they do, they will take the money, which is normal. They are promoting the platform, they are bringing people, and without them, you couldn't do it. So it's justified. And then I had a second course created, but I did not like it because I did not invest in audio and the materials, because the equipment to do the course is as important as the content, so that the learner has a smooth experience, an agreeable experience learning from you, without echoes, without other hitches. So yeah, these were the things I had learned and that I can overcome now, because I should not repeat the same mistakes. So yeah.
But it was interesting that you took that effort, made that effort actually. It's not that easy creating courses online and sharing your knowledge.
No, it's not easy, and it takes loads of time to be engaging, to create things that can interest people without asking them first. Because sometimes people, they can ask what their audience is interested in, but then even that process takes time because you have to engage with them, you have to build the audience, you have to know your audience as well, because this is how people who are active on social media, that we call influencers, even though I don't like this name, this is how they build an audience, and they market to them most of the things, because they know who they are and they have interactions with them. So yeah, I would spend most of my holidays and weekends doing those things. Also blogging, because blogging is also a way to promote oneself. But at the same time, I was not free to share my identity, because I was tied to employers who by contracts did not want me to do anything else. So hiding was not helpful to me. So I was always wanting to finish contracts to continue what I was more fulfilled at. But when I had left the Indian embassy, I was determined to continue to do what I was doing before. But then I had a colleague who was insisting that I join the UK embassy, and she was telling me, your profile matches the vacancy. And she was the one insisting that I apply. And when I did, I was hired, and it was amazing because I was curious about how the UK works, because it is one of the powerful countries out there. And I'm glad I had that experience because it is more focused, and especially during COVID time, I was there back then. I appreciated to work as a team continent-wide. And there was a lot to learn, how big companies work and how big governments do business, and how they support their people, because somehow it's a country that helps its companies exports and do business, and I was one of those people helping them. And it is another way to have built a great network and also be known. It's also good for my personal branding.
Safaa, here's what I think. You keep building your networks.
Yes, I never get over this.
Which is a great thing, actually, because right now with your own company, ARKAD Plus, you get to leverage, right, those
Indeed.
networks that you've built in your past.
True. That's true, yes. Yeah. And it helps.
Yeah. But when did you stop with the UK government and decided that, okay, this is it, I'm going to start my own thing right now, I'm not going to go for another employer?
It was during COVID. It was during COVID, and during the lockdown, I engaged in a coaching program where I should learn how to do business online, how to enroll clients. And also during my commutes from home to the office, I was playing audiobooks to see how I can change my mindset, because having an employee mindset and changing to an entrepreneurship mindset is very, very different. As an employee, you are paid every month, sometimes generously. That's you will think, why would I start a business if I'm paid well, if I have so many advantages, etc. But as an entrepreneur, you can work a lot and not be paid, or someday things would line up and pay off. So it's not a bet, but this is entrepreneurship. Sometimes it can really work, sometimes it can be discouraging, but either way, you have to keep going and keep trying and seeing and tweaking as you go to improve things and make things work. And also be patient.
Like that. And you like that challenge.
And also being patient, because in my first business, I was not patient. I was associating with people who were older than me and with more experience to climb the social ladder quickly. But that was a mistake. So now I'm being more patient, and because quick gains can come with new problems, and it's better to grow as a person before you grow your business and grow your base of clients and have more responsibility, because it's more about the person and who you are than what you are doing.
Yeah, I love that advice, because I think hardly anyone talks about that.
Indeed, and then they get into trouble.
Yeah, and because people look at entrepreneurship as like a quick way to success, right?
Indeed, true, they do this.
And it feels like everything has to be moving very fast, or everyone has to hustle. I hate that word.
And the problem is, online, you always see how a millennial or a young person made millions overnight. They don't say that this person was trying like 5 years before, or how many failures they went through, because nobody speaks of businesses that failed. We only speak of the businesses that make it. And I think we have to shed the light on those failures, because I assume 99% on earth go through failures and trying to make it, but they don't, and they think they are the problem. Whereas the process is this way. It's good to fail, especially young, than at an older age when you have more responsibility. And so in my 20s, early in my 20s, I had decided that I would be taking all kinds of risks and trying things. And then in my 30s, I would get serious. So right now I am in my 30s and more serious and more patient and more wise about who to do business with and not to work with. And I have an example with this regard is when I was in France, I had one of my mentors was a retired man from the finance sector. And he had a very, very smooth career. He started in the banking sector. Everything went well until he retired. And then he partnered with a rich friend to start a perfume factory that exports perfumes to the Middle East. The problem is he was investing his savings, showing up every day. And when it came time to do the accounting, the other person was like, he denied all his efforts and he did not want to pay him on anything. So going through a business with a person that you are not very, very familiar with can be an adventure, can be highly risky because you don't know how the person would be. And especially at an older age. Because when you are young, you don't have much to lose. You don't have big expenses. But when you're old, your expenses are as big as yourself, especially with the family. So it was very, very hard on him. And I'm somehow grateful I went through this young. And for me, every time I would fail something, I'm like, I can always do something else. I can always start over. And I still had to learn. But as an older person, it is less acceptable when you go through this. And it's better to be familiar with bad people so that you can recognize them in the future. It's like immunity. This is how we build immunity from getting sick or getting a jab from like the genome of a virus or something.
I'm glad you talked about that also, because taking risks when you're young, it's also easier to bounce back. Because like you say, you've got nothing much to lose. I mean, you're young and you're able to pick yourself up again. But if you're in your 50s or 60s, you have a lot to think about when you fail.
Indeed, and even sometimes your health is not your best ally because at an older age, it's not like in your 20s or less.
Your experience with that first business of yours, how did that make you a better entrepreneur now?
How it's made me a better entrepreneur is I know the skills that will be useful to me to serve better. Because before you have any service or products, people want to know who you are. And if they don't know who you are, they want to know who the company is. And so you have two choices. Either promotes the company with high budgets, like what's Procter & Gamble are doing with their products. You never know who is behind, but with their aggressive marketing on TV and everywhere you go on streets, you are familiar with their products and they are your first choice. When you don't have that financial capability, because especially when you are starting, it's better to be the face of your business. So this is how people can trust your products or services. And this is how they can choose you over competition. They want to know who they are dealing with. And so how it's also shaped my mindset is because I know what the skills I need and the personality traits I want to improve in myself to become a better person. Like I should not be naive thinking that everyone wants me to do well, because there are people who push you forward, people who endorse you, recommend you, they encourage everything you do, and there are people who envy you. And this is part of changing and improving. Those who compare themselves to other people, they naturally tend to envy them. And especially those people who don't know what they want. Because when you know what you want, you're happy for people reaching their goals. On the other hand, when you don't know, it's like you want to destroy the person or discourage them from what they are doing. And sometimes this happens often. So one of the traits to develop is to be resilient and have enough self-confidence and also positive self-talk, because this is what shapes my everyday habits. And the more positive and encouraging I am inside of my thoughts, the more I do the right actions and take the right decisions to get things done. because, like the duck, it seems very quiet and peaceful, whereas under the water, it's
paddling crazy.
very, very, very quickly. This is how entrepreneurship is. People do not want to know how hard you are working. They just want to see the results. Sometimes they're happy for you. Sometimes they envy you, thinking that you were not doing anything and you were just lucky.
And you're gliding through life, right? And you're gliding through life, and everything easily falls onto your lap, right?
That you're having it all, and you don't deserve it. Whereas there has to be effort in everything. Even the big families, you see that there's a rich person and an heir that has loads of money, but are not doing anything with it. And at the same time, there are those who work hard, and you think, oh, it's their family. But having a big name or having finances is helpful, but your personal efforts are the things that do everything. Because without working hard, without taking the right decisions, and also onboarding the right people, things can go wrong. So it's not just about being lucky. It's mostly about taking the right decisions. And the more educated you are, the more aware of your flaws and your qualities, the more you are likely to take the right decisions and to get things done.
Yeah, that's a great point there. So now in ARKAD Plus, who do you mostly focus on? What kinds of companies do you work with? I know they want to come into Morocco and start a business and do business with Moroccans, but what specific kind of companies are they?
So the specific kinds of companies are the ones that are willing to expand in Morocco and with the budget. Because there are those who do not want to set up any budget and they expect you to do things for free. And this is unacceptable because you cannot just make a big move without allocating a considerable budget for it. And they think this is very easy, thinking that all it takes is an email and then people will send you their credit card and buy whatever you are selling. This doesn't happen in anywhere on this planet. And they don't know, or they don't want to know, that the largest companies, they allocate like considerable budgets to unlock new markets. And also there is considerable human efforts behind everything that we see. Nothing comes easy, even though, for example, the owner of a group is a friend, but not because it is a friend that they will just let you do anything you want. They want to know there is a value, and they want to test also with their buyers, whether the buyers they will react to the products or service. So they themselves need to run a market study to see if they were going to be profitable. And also every new product or service requires a new person to be behind it and to handle the queries with the clients. So everything requires expenses, and ultimately the company needs to have a considerable budget to commit with the partner in the other country to get things done. And when I say to commit, is to also make sure that the results are achieved, and not just by signing a contract and saying, hey, what are the results? Because mostly the companies that make it are the companies that have a budget. And because this is how you can also expect things to be done on the other end of the contract. So even legally, if you don't pay someone to do something, they're not binded by anything.
Would it be right to say that the company needs to have a long-term vision for what they want to do in your country, for instance? Like they want to come in and do something, right?
Not just a long-term vision, but to have a solid background, and also an acceptable product or service. So these two things are different. So let's focus on products. Sometimes it's good to have a good knowledge of the country and how the market is capable of reacting financially. Because ultimately, if you want to make profits from that country, you want to know the financial aspects of the markets. Therefore, it's good to have good knowledge that stems from market studies. And the problem is so many companies underestimate the utility of market studies. They think it's just a luxury that can also only be afforded by biggest companies in the world. Whereas it's a necessity and you cannot do without it, because even if everything goes smoothly, there are some like barriers that are evidence in the fiscality of the country, or customs, or things that are obvious in the legally, and they can be uncovered in an analysis of the markets. So it is not a luxury, it is really necessary to go through this. And it is very important prior to engaging financially, so that time and resources are not wasted.
That's a really pragmatic look at how you can actually get into another country, of wanting to invest not only time, but also financial resources to get things done.
Yes, because if you hire someone to do things without paying them first, why would they do it? They can do it for their own services and products, and the ideas for products and services are endless with the internet. So for them to engage their time, sometimes they ask that the other person is committed as well. But a contract and is the best way to commit a person, because they can commit with you financially, but then they can give up at any time, and then you are left without anything.
And right now in your present business, what is about the business that you enjoy the most?
The thing that I enjoy the most about business is companies thanking me, being grateful of the introductions I make, the ideas I bring, because they have sometimes no idea on the markets. They don't know how people would react, and I have a good knowledge of the European mindset and also the Moroccan mindset, and sometimes the African. So this is a huge plus for me. And the way I guide them into getting things done, and how to build allies around the decision maker they want to target, because sometimes the decision maker is not accessible. So you have to make friends with the people around them. It's about knowing the right people who you can talk to at any time of the day, because the decision maker is usually inaccessible here. And even making friends with the assistants is the best thing to do, because she's the one who can tell you when to call, and she's also the barrier to that decision maker. So it's good to be friends with those people.
So I guess it works in your favor, because you're a very approachable person. I think you're a very nice person to talk to. So I guess people open up. Does gender play a role too? Like, you're a woman, and is it easier to talk to a woman versus a man?
Some men tell me that being a woman makes business easier to me, but I don't think so. Because even as a woman, I do not necessarily get responses from men. I don't think there is a huge advantage. Sometimes it cannot work in my favor. It cannot work in my favor in the sense where they think I am hating on them or something. And then I do not conclude what I want business-wise. So everything is dropped in the water. You see what I mean? So sometimes being a man get things done better, because you can sit with them in coffee shops, spend hours with them, and then at the end he will not think, oh, this girl is into me, because it's a man.
It would be misconstrued, right? It would be misconstrued if you're doing that as a woman.
Yeah. If I go with a man in a coffee shop and I try to build rapport with them before talking business, he will not think I am talking business. It's logic, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
it's actually disadvantageous.
It's total disadvantage. So now I have to be professional from the beginning to the end. And this is why I build my network, so that people can know me, and also why I give so much information on my LinkedIn, so that people can know me before they engage with me. I don't have to tell them myself. And the other thing is I try to not smile so much, because before, when I was speaking to male prospects or things like that, while smiling and being my best self, etc., they would see it as a sign that I am hitting on them or opening some door to them.
Is that true? Wow.
Yes, that was a huge problem for me, because they would start asking me personal questions, and then everything business is canceled, like if I'm not taken seriously. So now I try not to smile.
So you have to put on that poker face.
Yeah. I should not be very friendly. I should be totally professional and make sure the whole conversation is professional.
Interesting insight into your industry. So now, since we've talked a lot about business, I want to talk a little bit about the not so business side of things. What are you no longer afraid of?
What I'm no longer afraid of is to make mistakes. Because sometimes I don't want to take action because I'm afraid it will not work and then my fears would be confirmed. But now I realize mistakes are the stepping stones to what you want to achieve, because you are directed and guided towards your goal. And if you don't win, you learn. If you don't win the business, you learn the lesson. And so learning is an important part of the journey, because it is very, very helpful, and it is what builds you as a person. And as I said before, it's about the personal growth and the mental resilience, because even the most senior decision makers and the biggest groups, they still make mistakes up to this date, and their mistakes can be very, very costly. We can see this every day. So as a young person with a starting business, my mistakes are not that heavy, if they are. So it's good to grow. This is where the mental strength and the resilience come into play. You grow before your business, so that's when your business encounters some setbacks. You know how to handle them with a good mindset and a strong mind to confront the difficulty ahead.
And what's the craziest thing you've ever done?
The craziest things I have ever done?
Yes.
I wonder if I do crazy things, but I went on a road trip with a client across Morocco, and we were trying to see where is the best place to set up a plant. And it was very, very fun, because we used all kinds of transport means to get from places to others, and we were meeting everyone. There was also many ups and downs, because we were tired, we were under pressure, we went through so many things in those 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks period, and at the end we get so many good memories. And he made a video of the trip, which I was not aware of. And then it showed all the good scenery that we went to, because there are some places in Morocco that you don't see on any video, on any pictures online. You have to live them. We were on the beaches, on the mountains, in the big cities. We met people who were very, very friendly and hospitable, and others who were like, "What are you doing here?" So it was amazing, and it was one of the crazy things I keep a very, very good memory of.
Wow, that sounds like an adventure in itself.
Yeah, indeed.
And what personal goal are you most focused on for this year or even next?
So the goals I am most focused on this year is to get known to more people and deliver as much value as possible without expecting anything in return, because it is when you don't expect that things start to happen. And I want to build as much presence because I'm now 34. So I believe I still have time ahead, and I should be patient with my process and go brick by brick until I build a fortress. So
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will.
Thank you.
Because you embody good values, I believe. I mean, after that first business failure of yours and all that toxic relationship, I'm sure that has helped you understand yourself a lot more too.
Yes, that's the beauty of going through hardship. You get to know yourself more, and you appreciate the good people you know. And even if you don't know all of them, but it's good to know that people want good for you and are helpful. Because like the yin and the yang, we have both of the two words, and it's good to focus on these good things that come ahead.
And who inspires you?
Who inspires me? There are so many people who inspire me on like some things than others. It's not one person that embodies everything. So sometimes I'm inspired by those who take action. I think of them like, for example, there is a person online whose name is Russell Brunson. I like, and also Robert Kiyosaki. They take action on a daily basis, and at the end, it creates a huge impact. And I like to think of them when I'm taking decisions and I'm doing work. And also to sometimes even the businesses that fail, that they inspire me, because the most important is to get things done. And even if they don't work, at least you have learned something.
And who do you want to inspire?
I want to inspire the youth who do not know what they want and who should take action to be the masters of their destiny and not expect things to happen for them. Because ultimately, there's no one who will do things for you. Even sometimes the parents, their obligation is to bring you the basic necessities so that you can live and survive. But I want to inspire the youngest people to be the masters of their destiny. And especially now with what's happening in France and with this current crisis where prices are inflated everywhere, that people should take responsibility of their destiny and not expect the government to do things for them. Because even governments, they are under huge debts. And we don't know how things will evolve in the future. So people have to be their own drivers of their life, not be in the passenger seats and complain. Because this will not lead them anywhere, and ideas are not what's in lack in this era. And information is totally accessible. Many skills can be learned for free. And I wish the youth would spend more time learning than scrolling on social media and wasting their time complaining and expecting the government to compensate them for doing nothing.
Yeah, well said. Because I think a lot of times we should all empower ourselves, whether it is with knowledge or with something that we want to do or something that's more of what we want to do. Sometimes a lot of things are put on us, but it's good to discover that. If you can discover that early in life, I think you are really going to be happy doing what you're going to do for the next 20 or 30 years of your life.
Exactly. And one thing I want to add, you are the same person as you are 5 years from now, except the persons you hang with and the books you read. These are the things that can shape you at whatever age or stage you are in life. And most of the time when I take a book and I read it, I start having so many ideas. I'm like, this is all I needed to get enthusiastic and get active. So learning opens you up to more perspective that you will not get otherwise. And many bestsellers are found for free online. I personally, when I find a free ebook online or listen to it for free on some platforms online, I go to buy the physical book, sort of say thank you to the author, even though it's nothing, but it's good to have the physical book as a memory of what I was learning online. So when I want to get back to some chapter, I can easily open it and know where it is.
Now would be a good time, right? To ask you, what's your favorite book?
Favorite book. There is one favorite book that opens you up to the others, and it's a very old book. And I read it early when I had just graduated, and I'm thankful I did. It's a classic, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Because it tells you that it's good not to engage in any debts, focus on building assets. And if you need money, you can use your assets, because liabilities like a fancy, shiny car, you can be very happy about it on the first days. But then when you see the withdrawals and how expensive it is to maintain, you don't love it as much as in the first day. And same for bad debts, because what's deceiving is most banks take a huge rate of interest, which you end up paying more than the asset itself. And this asset is no longer an asset because it is costing you money. And the day you will want to sell it, it would be less than what you were paying plus interest rates. So it's good to build assets like company stocks or being your own asset. Like what's one of the biggest investors say, you have to invest in yourself. and build assets yourself so that you can rely on yourself to generate your own living.
I like that book too because I read that when I got out of university, and it really shaped my outlook on life. Especially we talk about what are assets and what are liabilities. Unlike the most common, most people would think that certain things are assets or certain things are liabilities. Yeah, so the book really helped me to rethink how I should think about my life. And I think that has also been one of those pivotal books that have shaped my life. And it made me realize that there's so many ways that we are always thinking about money, but sometimes not in the correct way.
Indeed. And sometimes you see that the persons or the people who are in most financial trouble, they are in debt. And the less debts you have, the less problems you can have with others, and focus on what you are more inspired to do. And sometimes, as we say, debt is the new handcuffs for the modern slaves. Yeah. Many people cannot leave their job because they have debts.
Their mortgages.
Oh yeah, and they have cars, expensive cars that they cannot afford. So for me, if you cannot afford something, don't buy it. You can live without it. And focus on what you can do, because the main reason why people do this is they want to identify with the social group. And so the social identification is more important than the mental and personal well-being. And then they find themselves spending more than they can afford.
And now, what is that one final takeaway to remember as a result of listening to our conversation today?
The most important takeaway is to accept yourself and to value yourself and not expect anyone to do this on your behalf. You have to build your own value and make sure you are an important person to yourself, and build your self-confidence with enough knowledge and skills, and always stay humble wherever you get in life.
Thank you so much, Safaa. Wonderful, wonderful advice. And finally, where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
I am easily found on LinkedIn because my name is unique.
Yes. Safaa.
Yes. Nasseh. And I make sure my picture is the same as my face in case they see me in real life. Because one of the mistakes people do, they show themselves online with a different hairstyle and then they show up with it differently. People do not make they don't match them systematically. So when people meet me in public places, they recognize me, which is a good thing. And I make sure my haircut stays the same.
So I like that point, because that is very true. Because when people show up online, it's a different image. And when they show up offline, it's a totally different image. So let's make sure images match, right? Real life and online. I hope I look the same too.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Okay, so that is a really good point. Very interesting. Yes, I must remember that. So thank you, Safaa, for a very interesting conversation. I'm glad we had this conversation. We connected so long ago, and yes, but I believe also in the right timing, and
definitely,
the right conversations happen when the time is right. So I'm glad.
Absolutely. I'm glad we had this interview finally, and I hope it will inspire people to be the masters of their destiny. And thank you very much, Krista, for this opportunity.
You are welcome. And I really hope that at the end of it, if they decide to do business in Morocco, if they decide to do something in Morocco, they'll think of Safaa.
Yes. From ARKADplus.com.
Yes, from ARKADplus.com. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
From her first failed business venture to her current thriving enterprise, Safaa's story is a testament to resilience and entrepreneurship. As Safaa says, with great responsibility comes great power, and she has wielded that power to facilitate countless opportunities for businesses and individuals alike. 3 takeaways from this episode. Embrace mistakes. Safaa reminded us that mistakes are stepping stones to success. Consistency matters. Be true to yourself online, maintain alignment between your online presence and real life identity. And finally, invest in yourself. Self investment and continuous learning build personal value and self confidence. Now it's your turn. Take these insights and apply them to your life, your business, and your dreams. Don't forget to visit Womenpreneur Asia to explore more inspiring stories and resources. Thank you for joining me on this episode. Stay tuned for more stories from the world of entrepreneurship. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share it with your network. Until next time, keep dreaming big and turning those dreams into reality.